Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO. Free, impartial advice on all your debt.
Garcia continue his rapid ascent.
Campbell. This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special, and there's no hype.
I'm ready to start the interview. I got the belt ready for the interview.
Oscar BEVIS, IFL TV, MTK Global, delighted to be joined by the new British light heavyweight champion, Spider Craig Richards. Mate, I'm so pleased for you. It looks good. It suits you.
Thank you. This suits me, yeah. Brings out the colour in my eyes.
How good does it feel?
No, it feels good. I felt like it was maybe a long time coming. I felt like I've had a lot of quite big domestic clashes and still didn't have the British title. So it was finally that my last one against another unbeaten fighter was for the British. And I finally got my hands on the prestige Lonsdale belt to be the British champion.
Do people not realise the journey you've had and how tough it can be? Because they might see that you signed with Matchroom. You've been, I think you topped the next gen bill at York Hall. You've been on the undercards of big fights. You was on the Joshua card against Frank Buglioni. Yeah. Do they not see the hardship? They just see all this positivity and you in front of the lights and you in front of the camera, but they don't actually see the graft that goes in for things.
No, they don't understand the sort of rocky road I've had with the fights getting postponed, having to take time out, boxing hard opposition. Like, I've boxed from 7 fights, boxing guys 12-0, 10-0, 12-1, 14-0 now, and under 20 fights. I've boxed a lot of main prospects in the country, and even with the Buglioni 5 days notice, having to jump in for the opportunities. Yeah, it ain't been an easy road, but we just kept grinding out, and just now we're benefiting from it. Got the belt, so it's not been an easy road, but we're here.
I'm sure it'll be an easier road now, surely.
Hopefully. The tide has to change at some point, right?
I was going to say, because there'll be a lot of people, and I'm going to come on to the actual fight in a sec, but there'll be a lot of people who perhaps weren't interested in fighting Craig Richards, that now they're going to have to open up their horizons. You're British champ, you got something that people want.
Yeah, I noticed people was telling me all these names, calling me out on Twitter. I've had about 6 or 7 names already. In less than 24 hours, I heard it. So it's good and a bad thing. Everyone calling you out means that you're in a position that they want to be in. Bad thing, you've got too much work. You can't fight them all. But yeah, it's a good position that I finally, obviously I must have landed in that mix for everyone to call me out now, to be a household name in the light heavyweight domestic scene or whatever in the British scenes. Yes, it's a good thing.
I have to ask you one thing. There's no way that picture that Peter Sims put of you online is how you woke up. I'm sorry, no one wakes up like that.
I woke up like this. You lot are liberty. You and Coogan and that, you lot are haters. You can't help that I just wake up like flawless.
It was too good, like the belt perfectly placed over the shoulder. I'm going to put it over the top of this interview if people haven't seen it. It was too perfectly placed. Nobody wakes up looking like that. I'm sorry.
I don't move a lot in my sleep. I put it on. It ain't left my shoulder since. I slept with it. It was on nicely. Perfect. It was just, he just walked in the room, saw me, took the picture. That was it.
You are. Anyway, let's talk about the fight. So, actually, before the actual in-ring stuff, you were a massive underdog, and I don't know, some people felt that was justified, some people felt it wasn't. Not that did that play in any of the build-up for you, but how would you sort of take the fact that you were an underdog when, if you look at the CVs of you and Shakan, you know, no slight on him, of course, but you have been in with better opposition than him?
That's what I don't understand. I think he writes this stuff. I've had all the bigger opposition. I've beat a lot better fighters than he has. I'm world ranked. Like, I'm pushed up there. And because he had beat Chad, now he's a massive favourite. And I thought it was a bit weird. I thought, okay, maybe because of the opponent mix, they might think, all right, maybe he's there 50-50. Maybe they might let him edge it. But I'm not a bookie's betting odds, but I hear him at 4-1, 5-1. I heard it went from 7-1 to nearly 9 or 10-1 for me to knock him out. It was like unrealistic for me to win at one point. And it was like, when you look at my CV, even everyone in the division, if you see my CV, I've had the hardest and beat the best opposition, but I still don't get no credit for it. So I was just a bit like, well, I wonder what happens after when I beat this guy. And everyone was saying, oh, are you going to cause the upset? I'm like, it's not an upset. I'm going to like, I've got to beat him. It's not an upset. I will beat him. No disrespect to him because he's a good fighter, but I just knew that I should be beating him. And yeah, I went out and done what I said I was going to do.
Do you think it was like that because he's long, he's awkward, he's rangy, so people just automatically go, you know what, it's a tricky fight when you look stylistically at the way it could play out?
He's a hard opponent for anyone to beat. He's 6'6.5" or whatever he is. He's long, he's rangy, he's a counter puncher. He doesn't engage. He works behind the jab often. So he's a puzzle for anyone to unfold. And I feel like because of, as everyone knows, when I haven't got a big fight coming up, I box a little flat sometimes. Looking at my last two, not tick-over fights, the last one was a tick-over fight, but then I boxed Sterling, I beat Sterling, but on points. Everyone else at light heavyweight, I knocked them out. But because of my last two, was the only two people at light heavyweight I didn't knock out, it's kind of like, well, he's performing flat at the moment, and he's buzzing, and he's an awkward operator, so is Richards going to come in and box flat again? But it was like, no, there's something on the line again. The last time I fought for a title was Jake Paul. There was something on the line for the fight. It got me up for it. And I said to everyone, I'm only going to be up for when I fight Shaq for the British because it's something on the line and something for me to gain. And I'm going for the knockout again. And that's what I wanted to demonstrate. I wanted to demonstrate some of my boxing ability I do every day in the gym. I wanted to demonstrate that I still got the punch power. I'm still dangerous in the division. And people need to stop writing me off when they're talking about the best light heavyweights in the division. I don't understand how you could keep skipping me, but people's opinions, isn't it? So you're just going to hear what other people hear. Like the general public here, people say, oh, he's the best, or he's the best, or if they see the majority crowd going with someone, they don't look into it and think, okay, why him? Or let me make my own decision. They just go with the majority crowd. So I don't blame the public when they don't give me credit sometimes.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Let's talk about the fight. So I'm just going to start with the fact you knocked him down early, right? Twice early. And obviously people sit here and say, why didn't you jump on him? But I know you, Craig. I know that, you know, you'd have had it in your mind to try and take him out. Was he tougher? Did he have more grip than you expected, Shaq?
No, I just thought there's no point me unloading, emptying everything out, loading it all out, dropping my energy bar to a certain level and him getting through the round. I hit him with clean shots after that. I saw he was surviving. Series head was coming back round. Realised he was able to take shots still. He wasn't completely cooked and ready to go. So I just went back to my boxing. And I knew at that point I hurt him. I knew I was able to hurt him. So for me, I just thought I just got to bide my time.
How did you think the fight was playing out, by the way? I'm going to come on to the stoppage and that perfect left hook in a bit, but how did you think it was playing out? Because from
not how the commentary was.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. From the commentary perspective, it seemed like, yeah, that you was behind, but I feel like a lot of people thought, you know, you were
everyone thought ahead except for the commentary. Like, I was, when I'm out jabbing him, they're like, oh yeah, Pitt's got an awkward jab. I'm like, but I've landed 3 in a row. Then it's like, I'm walking him down, they're like, oh, Pitt's is finding his rhythm here. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, are you joking? And it was like, I throw a double jab right hand, 1-2, 1-2 again. They're like, Richard's gonna have to start doing something here. I'm like, what? Are you joking? I'm like, nah, that's when you got to realize that if this went to the final bell, it was all set up. I wasn't meant to win this. I went, nah, I got to get him out. In there, I knew anyway. I said, I know he's the poster boy. He's the promotion company. He's Channel 5's poster boy. I can't go in there and nick this on points. Like, they're not going to give it to me. And based on the commentary, even if you listen to, they said like round 2, good round for me. Round 3, there was like, oh, Richards box well. And when I dropped him round 4, then, and I think 1-5, when they looked at the scorecard after 6, I was like, oh, scorecard's level here. I'm like, so what happened to the other round you gave me? I was like, come on, what's going on here? So yeah, for me, I felt very in control. Based on the commentary, it was a different fight.
Did you feel like I don't know, like, because we said he was long, he was rangy, and it looked like he was going to have like, it was going to be a ramrod jab, I suppose, trying to put you off all night. Did you see his jab coming? Because there was a lot of shots from the camera angle where it was almost behind Shaq, and you could see him throw the jab. and it looked like it was just basic slipping from you.
Yeah, I would just slip in, block in, and just there. I was just using my basic fundamentals of defense to not allow the jabs to be effective. Took them away with my own jabs, doubling up the jab. Went to the fundamentals of boxing really, to isolate all the stuff he does. But this is the stuff what in boxing people on the eye they don't really look at. They just see like, oh, what's his speed like? What's his power like? What's his footwork? They don't understand like taking away people's stuff and high level like things that like win fights, you know, like game plans like that. I think that's another thing that people don't notice, the good things that I do sometimes. But it's fights like that, I believe if you look at him in other fights with his jab, as you said, how successful he is with it, but he wasn't in the fight with me, shows that I was obviously doing something right in there.
We talk about the punch power, and in a weekend where we've stayed up late to watch Golovkin, to watch Canelo, 2 pound for pound stars of the sport, you threw the best punch of the weekend. You might as well give it up.
On.
You threw the best punch of the weekend.
I was in the punches weekenders and I was the one who got the KO.
I mean, it must have felt, I don't know, like, I'm not a boxer, but I suppose when you throw a punch, you must know it's got that extra spite. And when it lands, I can imagine you knew immediately that regardless of him trying to get up, and I know he was clambered against the ropes a bit, you must have known that was a sort of a fight ender, if you will.
I know it was a fight ender, and that's why I give him credit for trying. Like, as I caught him with the left hook and I looked at him, I saw his eyes had rolled back, saw him slide down the ropes and land. But a few seconds later, so often, he tried to get back up. And it was his will to win. He had a lot of will to win, a lot of heart. But obviously, when your body gives up, it gives up. But it showed he trained hard for the fight and he had a will to win. But I knew when I landed the shot that that was it, really.
Yeah, well, it was a banging shot. And like you said, I'm glad you said you sort of credit to Shaq, because there's definitely stuff in the sport for him. He is a top-level fighter, and I feel like you two, it might have been for a domestic belt, but I think you're both above domestic level. Was that a fair shout?
That's a fair shout. I feel like people are going to say, oh, because I beat him now, yet again, he must not have been all of that, but he's a good operator. He's beat good people, 14-0, Ultimate Boxing Tournament winner, English champion, British champion, unbeaten. It shows his CV. Obviously, he couldn't have been rubbish. But in boxing, there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. Someone has to be better than someone. Doesn't mean the loser's rubbish. It just means that he wasn't as good as the other guy he fought. But I believe domestically, he can still beat a lot of fighters in the domestic scene. I saw a week before the fight, I think it was BT Sport or someone sent it to me, putting out who's the best in Britain. It was like Shakan, Arthur, Buatsi, etc., etc. I wasn't even in the mix, but I kind of like thought, you see? Now I was glad I saw it a week before, because he was considered in the hat as practically, is he the best in Britain? And I thought, so when I beat him, I wonder if I'll start getting some credit.
Can I just list a couple? Let's play a game, right? I'm going to list some names off and I'm just going to see what your reaction is, because you know what boxing's like. It's all about the future. We're all going to forget about your knockout on the weekend and look to the future. So
don't forget it. I'm not joking.
Right, so Dan Aziz.
Mm-hmm.
Your reaction. I'll say a name, your reaction. Dan Aziz.
I ain't really got much reaction to it.
Lyndon Arthur.
It's a good fight.
Yeah. Joshua Buatsi.
It's a good fight as well.
Anthony Yarde.
I don't see us crossing. I think the thing is with the names you mentioned so far, in hindsight for career-wise, because all the guys you named, I like all of them. I get on with all of them. I think, like, I've seen online people saying me and Lyndon Arthur, because of 2 top 5 of the light heavyweights, obviously Yarde and Shakan, we both beat them. And because I've got the WBA Continental and the British, and he's got the Commonwealth and WBO, it's like a natural progression for people to think of me and him fighting. So it makes sense. I think Dan, is he the English champion, Dan Aziz?
Dan is the English champion, yeah.
He's the English champion. So for me, that's kind of going, it's going a bit backwards to
It's a step up
fight.
for him.
It's a step up for him, but it doesn't do anything for me at all. So it's just like, it's not a reaction like I'm like, oh, I'll gain like anything from it. Lyndon, there's belts to gain. He's got belts to gain. Yarde hasn't got titles at the moment, and I know Yarde quite well. He's not really a fight for me to gain again from it. Buatsi's a bit ahead. as in he's gone to the world scene. So in the future, maybe world titles or something is a future fight could be looked at. So that's how the general thing of the 4 you've named so far, how I'd look at it in my head.
Well, but I'll add one more in just for the fun. What about Callum Johnson?
It's a good fight. He hasn't got anything at the moment either, has he? So maybe a world title shot or something. I think Callum Johnson is a bit ahead of me as well in terms of what he's got. Well, what he's done, because he won the British before I have. So he's a bit ahead. Buatsi's won the British as well. That's why I'd say them two kind of went a bit. So I think in the future for them two, I think we'd probably meet at world level, like for a world honours or something like that.
I look forward to it, mate. I love the way you're mentioning world honours. Fuck it, there's no barrier in the way. Let's go all the way. Why not?
To be fair, it's like if I was in the game with small ambitions, there's no point. Like that, you've got to strive for something, and that's what I'd like to strive for and see how good I am. Do you get what I'm saying? I came in the game, 7 fights in, boxed a guy 12-0 for Southern Area. I ticked that off the box. Boxed Jake Bull, 12-1, good knockout percentage for the WBA Continental. I ticked that off the box. I've boxed Campbell 14-0 for the British title now. I've ticked that off the box. I don't want to go back. We're going to go look for the English or look for a Southern Area again. You're going to only look forward. So I've achieved every belt at domestic, the highest domestic level belt now, being a prestige British title. That's the top of the domestic scene. You can't get a bigger belt than this domestically now. So only 2 biggest belts, what I haven't achieved in boxing now would be a European or a world. So I'm not going to be like, well, I've won the British Limited retire now. I'm going to go for the next available steps. So
love it. And I suppose, are you a headliner now? You're not. I mean, unless you're a chief support on a big pay-per-view card, I suppose, you know, British title pushed onto European headline act.
I think I should be a headline. What do you think?
Well, obviously it depends on the card. I'm not saying you should headline a fucking
Not
pay-per-view at the O2 Arena.
I wouldn't have AJ.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
on my undercard, but I mean just a normal not mediocre show, but a normal show. Like I headlined the show on Saturday.
a Saturday night fight night. Yeah.
No, but I headlined even the Friday show just gone. Obviously, it was only a Channel 5, no disrespect, it was only a Channel 5 headlining show for that. But I believe like I've chief supported and headlined shows of like next gen shows before and shows like that, or me and Jake at O2 as co-main for Ted. I believe shows like that, I could do stuff like that still, or be roughly around there. But kind of depends on the interest of the fight I have. Because I'm not saying that whatever fight I'm on is going to be a headliner. I'm saying I'd have to be in a good fight against another name where there's interest that people want to see to be at that level, really.
I agree. Yeah, I believe if Sky were to put a Saturday night fight on and you're in a good fight, I believe there's a headline spot. But I'm not your manager. I'm not your promoter. I'm just getting excited. You know, I'm a Spider Richards fan. That's
I'm trying to get my profile being trying to sell out the O2 next.
You know, I'm a Spider Richards fan. That's why. But look,
I love that.
Just finally, yeah, well done again. Like I said, people perhaps don't see the hardship, and I'm not saying I have seen the hardship, but it's not just, you know, you're put down as a matchroom fighter, you win the British title. And I know there's a lot to get there, and like I said, the belt looks good on you, so go and enjoy your Christmas, mate. Well done.
Thanks, man. You as well. You have a good Christmas, and thanks again for your time.
Can Ryan Garcia continue his rapid ascent? Campbell.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special, and there's no hype.
Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free impartial advice on all your debt.